when my plans don't um, happen as per I plan, and when that happens, one thing I know for sure. Okay, so there is something else happening for sure.
You're pressing the brake and the accelerator at the same time. You will notice that the engine is revving so much, all right, and but it isn't going anywhere. There is a lot of
We are kind of exploring together, slowing down. Which seems like if you have to go fast, you've got to slow down. Okay? If you're building a career, it doesn't happen in months, it happens over years. Okay? So when I rave up here in your own words, oh, I've got to get up to the top of the ladder or make ton loads of money, because the windshield is not clear. And for somebody driving a car, like, the windshield needs to be really clear for you to go fast.
the beauty of slowing down is that it puts success all right. So happy evening to one and all joining us and who's watching the recording as well. So Mudassir, welcome to another live. And I'm wondering where Leslie is, but we will soon find out where Leslie is once she shows up.
Or if she doesn't.
That will be interesting as well.
Yeah. So what occurred to me is, as much as we make plans to do things we want to do, there are life-making plans for us.
Oh, yes.
And increasingly, I've started to find it amusing when my plans don't happen as per I plan, and when that happens, one thing I know for sure. Okay, so there is something else happening for sure. Okay. So that's why I'm calling it amusing, rather than earlier I used to be very worried, like, oh my God, my plans didn't work. What could have happened? I would have taken it very personally, as if I have done something which didn't work. Obviously, if you have been in the self-help space, which I have been for a very long time, you if something doesn't work, then fix it, do it a different way. Rather than seeing, okay, if something is not working, which means something else is happening. Now that seems very true now. Yeah. Because so I think it's very relevant from that perspective, that we are kind of exploring together, slowing down. Which seems like if you have to go fast, you've got to slow down. Okay? In case somebody has heard that, apart from a cool one-liner, I think that's very true. Yeah. Slowing down to the speed of life. I heard that a few months back, and I went like, speed of life? What does that mean? sounded something very cool. And but now what was interesting for me, this is very current, because this morning I had a coaching conversation with somebody who's been working his backside off, literally and metaphorically, because he's been really straining his back. He's having back issues. He's in the IT space, really working his backside off.
Mm.
and and it's be and this person has been kind of struggling with his uh, with his back for a very long time. What was interesting when I heard him today, he didn't share it as a problem.
Mm.
When he shared today in the coaching session was, he told me something which caught my attention. He told me, like, apparently his wife told him, knowing your body condition, okay,
Mm. Mm.
I know how much pain you must be, but you're making, you're having fun, and you're making these cheesy jokes. This must be growth. This is his wife's words. And for a moment I heard that, I went, that was music to my ears when I heard that. And so I asked him, okay, so tell me, like, so what happened? What has happened for you? Because I've been working with him for almost 6 months now. All that he told me is, you know what? I am less stressed about what's happening.
Mm.
I'm able to. I am. He said something like, I am less insecure. Meaning, like, I have insecure thoughts. I'm aware, but that doesn't affect him as much as before.
Mm.
So, so I noticed, oh my goodness, how beautiful is that? But he's doing hell a lot of work. He's really, he's single-handedly leading a project, and his whole organization is kind of going like, how the hell do you do that? But he chose to stay in the bed for 3 days without working. And he said, I thought I'm going to lose my job.
Mm.
But I realized for the first time, you know what? I'm going to take rest for 3 days. I'm going to be in the bed for 3 days. So, so that's very fresh for me. As I came out of that coaching conversation with this guy, I felt like, wow, that sounds, in my words, he's slowed down in his own way.
Mm.
And he started living.
Mm. 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 What what is current for me is, one is looking at like looking at the live stream there, whether like it's really happening or not. So now that I've seen that, all right. So I actually had a conversation which is a diametric opposite to that.
Hmm.
Okay. Um, I I I actually had someone actually give me a call. They said, they want to come see me. I said, okay, okay, come over. And so one of the things this individual shared is how the decision that he took 2 months ago is, it's not the right decision, and what will the world think of his current state. All right. And I noticed that he was, I could hear the revs. Imagine you have a scooter or a car, you have it parked in one place, you put the gear, you're you're pressing the brake and the accelerator at the same time, you will notice that the engine is revving so much, all right, and but it isn't going anywhere. There is a lot of uh, there is a lot of carbon monoxide fumes from the vehicle. There's a lot of noise, but it isn't going anywhere. The vehicle isn't going anywhere. That person isn't going anywhere. What I noticed is that what was happening with their thoughts at that moment. They were revving themselves up so much. So as I listened to that person, I was amused by how I have been there, done what exactly that person was doing 15 years ago.
Mm.
All right. So while I was transitioning in my career, so that's exactly what I did. And while I had empathy for the person, I I could also see how how he's able to identify the fact that he's revving himself up.
Mm.
I heard him say that. And he said, I've been in this space before. I've done this. I've experienced this couple of years back. I said, wow, great. So what are you noticing different now? And he said, I know I'm thinking too much. I'm having a lot of thoughts come in. I said, congratulations then. That's the first step. You know that it's happening for you. I said, you're in a great space then. And as I said that, I noticed that he began to slow down.
Mm.
He began to slow down, and I actually used this metaphor with him about the vehicle going nowhere and just accelerating. And I noticed that he began to slow down. I noticed that he was sitting very erect on the sofa. All right,
Mm.
so his back wasn't resting at all, and I noticed that there was a lot of tension on his back. I noticed that he actually relaxed himself onto the sofa, and for 10 minutes he was in a state of reflection.
Mm.
I just allowed him to be, and I just carried on with my work. And I noticed that he got ready. So I asked, so what's next for you? I noticed that he went for a bio break. He came back, and until an hour ago, I noticed that he was working towards what's possible. Came back to this moment. That slowing down of that 10 minutes that I noticed in him, all right, it acted like a fuel for him. He asked me so many questions after that. After that, I paused my coaching there. All right. Young guy, like all of 25. So he wanted to be mentored at that moment. So I gave him a few tips on what he could do with his CV and all that. So I noticed that the questions he was asking after that moment was very, very different. So I wonder what happened in those 10 minutes,
Mm.
that slowing down. Like, for example, what you spoke about, um, the guy with the sore back, like taking rest for 3 days, being on the bed, and this guy, like taking a break for 10 minutes. And I'm sure, like someone who's listening to the recording can actually relate with this. Sometimes it absolutely helps to hit that pause button.
Hmm.
And I have done that, hitting the pause button. And it's like I'm actually reminded of my student days when I used to have a winding alarm clock.
Hmm.
All right. You put that on the side and like you wind that, and it takes you a few seconds to actually wind that thing up,
Hmm.
right? And then, oh boy, like when the alarm goes, it actually wakes up the entire neighborhood. I still have that alarm, but I just don't set it on. But I simply love that German made clock that I have.
Hmm.
You got to take that time to actually wind it up. That's pretty much like slowing down for me.
Hmm. When you said that, what popped up for me, in fact, a couple of things popped up for me. One is um, firstly, people listening to live on Facebook. It's uh, they keep moving feeds, okay? and if something doesn't catch their attention, they keep moving on. Okay, that's an example of life itself,
Mm,
where we are on a constant movement inside, thinking that the more I move inside, the more I'm going to be moving faster outside, real time, on the ground. But what I've seen in recently is it's the opposite.
mm,
When people want to go really fast, like if you ask any athlete for that matter, or people who run big organizations, um, before any big gig, yeah, musicians or whatever, they take a they have a little quiet time. That little quiet time is not a ritual. It's not like a thing by itself. What I've started to notice is because that quiet, whatever is that label for because all of us label it differently. Underneath those busyness in the mind, what lies is that stillness, that quiet, that silence, because that exists.
mm,
It so you don't have to do anything to get there because that's the default. Because when you wake up in the morning after real good sleep, more often we wake up in a slightly more relaxed state. We had a good sleep. That's the normal. That's default. But what happens? It's like putting up a cap. Okay, so I'm going to put up a cap now before I go for a jog. Okay, it's like that. We pick our thoughts from where we left. Okay, especially some habitual thoughts we are so used to thinking about. Okay? And we wear it. And by the way, all this what I'm sharing is very true for me. Okay,
mm,
I know I have some habitual thoughts. The reason I say habitual is because it's familiar.
mm,
I know those thoughts. Okay, it keeps coming back. Okay. So what I've started to see is the more cluttered my mind is, as much as I think I'm going fast, but actually on the ground I'm going slow. It's because there is no clarity. It's like because the windshield is not clear. And for somebody driving a car, like the windshield needs to be really clear for you to go fast, especially. So you got to take the time to clear the windshield. To me, slowing down is like that, clearing the windshield. But as much as I'm saying clearing the windshield, but it is not a task by itself. When the moment you notice that it's busy, because what's beneath the busyness is that quiet, that
Mm.
stillness. What's underneath, what's before, okay, whatever is the way which makes sense, that exists, because that is not created. Thoughts are created, thoughts keep moving, it keeps changing, but this isn't. So it started to really make sense to me now to notice my busyness itself, not the content of the busyness. Okay.
Mm.
I can get caught up in the content of my busyness. For example, just before coming in, I was missing Leslie. Okay, like I'm going like, where is Leslie?
Mm.
and some part of me told me like, maybe she's not here today. That's okay. Okay? Because I know she's got a busy schedule working. So, but I noticed like, oh, the content of thought is like, where is Leslie?
Mm. Mm.
And the moment I noticed that, I kind of slowed down a bit. Okay. So, and it can happen in moments, in seconds, or for some people it can take years, because it's about seeing that, not the content of the thoughts, but what's before, underneath, yeah, beyond. So that is the beautiful relationship between action, doing, and clarity of mind. Because the more clear we are,
Mm.
actions happen very quick. I've seen that. There are certain things which I take ages to do. And when I notice there is a lot of thinking behind that, my head is busy with a lot of things. The moment I notice that, that kind of settles down. I know exactly what to do next. What to do next. And more often I'm possibly thinking about the task itself, or the thing which needs to be done. So when I say speed of life, the way it seemed to me is our thought created world through which we live, through the feelings of our thinking. Oh, it can move in lightning speed from years to, I don't know. Okay. like the what do you call that, time machine? Okay.
Mm. Mm.
But that's not real, that's imagination. Okay. Pure imagination. But there is this real world out here, like we're having a conversation right now, and I'm just noticing, goodness me, it's 18 minutes in already. Okay. uh, Sorry, 22 minutes already. Okay. And I'm going like, how did that happen? It doesn't seem like 22 minutes to me. But so the speed of life is generally slower than our speed of thinking. I know that. Okay. I have really, really seen that for somebody who's, yeah, together building a business. Okay. And business building can doesn't happen in minutes. It happens over years. Being real with that. Okay. Um, if you're building a career, it doesn't happen in months. It happens over years. Okay. So when I rave up here in your own words, oh, I've got to get up to the top of the ladder or make ton loads of money, then I am missing the magic which is happening now. Because what I've seen was very beautifully here. As much as say slowing down to the speed of life, I'm also aware that timing in real life is not predictable. It things Some things can take ages, some things can take no time. Okay? So that is why I'm calling it magical. I might think it might take so many years, but it can happen in minutes. So that to me has become very real. So that's why I love, in a way, noticing the amusement when my plans don't work out.
Mm. I'm reminded of an interview that I watched of Indian spinner Ravichandran Ashwin.
Mm,
And so after the second test in Chepauk, like he went live on his YouTube channel, and he was sharing about his experience. I think he was taking questions as well. So one of the things that he mentioned is immediately after they lost the first test with England, the guys actually went and rested, which is very counter to what conventional conventional wisdom would suggest. Go out and practice. Like you guys have lost a test match. Like what's wrong with you guys? Like you should go. You should be out there practicing. But he said, no, that's not how it works. We actually went and rested, and that is something that I'm connecting with this.
mm,
And notice the effect of that rest for him and for the team, like the way they bounced back, the way the way he bowled, the way he batted in the second test. There is there is there is there are times when our wisdom is very counter runs very counter to our logic.
mm,
All right. And puts us in a very in a state of fear.
mm,
All right. So something like we were expecting Leslie to show up, and like when she was not around, like we were like, oh my god, and like where is Leslie? And the the guy I was referring to, with whom I was having a conversation this morning, he was like, oh my god, like this is not what I planned. Like when I decided to do this change in my career, no, no, this is not what I planned. You think about it in a when he slowed down, he noticed something, and what occurred to me is this is a very very special moment in his career.
mm,
He's not going to get this moment again where he does not have someone to report into. He can wake up at the time that he wants to.
mm,
All right. And yet he's being fed. All right. And he's doing absolutely okay. And he has no one to report into. This is a rare moment in his career. I'm sure he's going to find another opening, and he's going to join them. And I told him, what are the chances that you're going to be single and not having a job? What is the probability that it is going to happen again in your career? Very slim. So I said, I think you got to make the fullest use of this moment. All right. Said, if it means you have an invitation from your friends to go out somewhere, go for it. Because he told me that he turned down, like invitations from his friends to go surfing.
mm,
I said, go for it. There's absolutely nothing to lose in this for you. And the beauty about slowing down is, we talk about the sine curve, the highs and the lows. All right, the ebb and the flow. The beauty about slowing down is we realize that what we are calling a high, what we are calling a low, the ebb and the flow, something that we are making it up here. It does not exist in reality. All right. So we make that stuff up here and we think, we're hitting the bottom, we are we are actually sliding down. We talk about all of these things. And the moment you slow down, you realize that those things begin to, like they just fall off like the ashes on top of an agarbatti. Just falls off. You notice that, hey, it doesn't exist, man. Doesn't exist. And I beautifully noticed how he was referring to this word called success. This morning, the young guy that I was chatting with was referring to the word success. He was saying, my friends are more successful than me. I'm getting worried that, like they will be more successful if I continue to remain like this. I said, wow. Isn't he waking up to an alarm to show up somewhere? And I asked him, what time did he wake up this morning? Did he have to show up somewhere? The answer is no. Right? So, would your friend, who you're calling is quote unquote successful, would he love to be in your shoes right now? Maybe, maybe not. Right? But just because he's getting a paycheck every month does not mean that he's successful, or that this guy is not successful. Because just like the sine curve, the ebb and the flow, the the fact that someone else is successful, I am not successful, someone is a failure, I am a failure, all of that is again to a very large extent made up. There is no uh, there is no parameter for it. So the beauty of slowing down is that it puts success, failure, highs, lows, everything into perspective. Because wherever you are present in the moment, when you take away all the labels, right? The success, the failure, and all of those labels, when you take it away, inside, you're breathing. Our blood flow is happening, heart is beating, we're able to digest our food. Isn't that success?
Well, what I just heard and all that you said, some people call it noticing what is. Okay. So the principles itself is pointing to what is, because the unfolding of life is happening in the now, and it is neutral. it is no good bad. Okay. It's no right or
It doesn't
wrong.
come with a
Okay?
label.
It doesn't come with a label. And the labels is our innocent little mind attaching to it. So the moment we just see the unfolding beyond the labels of our mind, we start to enjoy. I may not even call it enjoy. For me, the word is awe. If at times it doesn't make sense from a little mind, like what is happening? But that's when I kind of go a little humble to see, oh, what's happening? That curiosity to see what's happening, because what's happening is neutral. It's independent of my preferences. The moment I'm able to see that, because our inner wisdom is is connected to that unfolding of life. It works real time. So that's our connection. Okay? It doesn't work 2 hours from now. It doesn't work 1 year, 1 hour back. No, it works in the now. So that's that beautiful connection I see with life, the deep connection we have with life. The moment I begin to listen to my voice, not the noise, but the deep wisdom within, you may call it a voice, you may call it whatever is your label for it, that gentle guidance, you start to live with all of it, all those experiences, and become curious about where is life taking me. As much as I want to go somewhere, life is taking me somewhere, and both seems beautiful by itself.
Mm.
I'm just conscious that we've gone beyond 30 minutes today. uh,
Yes. So, so let's begin to slow down this conversation. And so as we bring this to a slow pause,
yeah,
what would you like to share, Mudassir, as
I'll just say slowing down is going fast.
mm,
Is going fast can be magical. When you slow down, you'll be able to enjoy the ride, not where you think you might reach. You'll enjoy the ride itself, the journey itself. And that can only
mm,
happen when you begin to slow down and see. And it's much simpler than anybody can imagine that. It's under our nose.
mm. So, all right. So, on that note, I think we'll slow this down and bring this to a gentle pause. And thank you, anyone who's joined us live. And for those who are going to be watching the recording, slow down and see what happens. And you have an experience, feel free to share it in the comment section below. And so we pause it here, Mudassir.
Yes, please. Let's do that.
All right.